One of the biggest mistakes that people make is they have a listing, they put their photos up, and they feel like they're just going to keep that same exact listing up all year long. And many of our properties are in seasonal markets, right? And some of them have double seasons. Maybe you have a summertime season, maybe you have a winter season, then you've got these shoulder off seasons. And the big mistake that a lot of people make is I put this listing together, I put all my photos together, and I just set it and forget it. What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Vacation Rental Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Shawn Moore, and we're back with a Whiskey Wednesday episode with Mr. Dave Savulich.
Hey, buddy.
What's up, brother?
What's up?
Just got back from Alaska. We're ready to go. Back in action.
Bro, I was going to say, your biceps look big today. Dude.
Hey, I did a little push-ups right before we got going.
Dude, that Alaska, you carrying all those salmon out of the river. Dude, I'm telling you.
Hey, those of you that are listening, you better go on YouTube.
That's why I wear a long-sleeve shirt, you know what I mean? I don't want to get compared against my buddy Shawn.
I love it. What
awesome. A great trip, huh?
It was a great trip. Yeah, we had a lot of fun, didn't we?
Maybe the most fish we've ever caught consistently day after day.
Yeah. I would say
it was
so.
awesome.
It was a different year for us, and it was like lots of fish. There were times where I'm like, I think you can walk across them in the river.
Yeah,
it was nuts.
It was so fun.
Yeah.
Such a time to unplug for a few minutes and just enjoy friends and just kind of take it easy. It was super nice. We did though. We brought the Starlink. And we had full access right up in the middle of Alaska.
We brought Starlink, and
that was kind of nice to check our emails and stuff.
We weren't completely disconnected this time. We got up in the mornings and checked our emails a little bit, and stayed on top of things. It was nice.
So it was super nice to disconnect for the week with the Starlink.
Yeah, with the Starlink. We didn't have meetings. We didn't. We couldn't do phone calls and meetings and everything else. So it was still a good disconnect.
Yeah, we're good. Well, awesome. Let's dive in. Here's the agenda today. We're going to talk a little bit about off-season adjustments.
Okay.
We're going to talk about a 5-star review question on how to get 5-star reviews.
Okay.
And we talk about buying short-term rentals, but what if you have a short-term rental you want to sell? So We'll talk about those three things. And so let's just jump into the off-season adjustments. As the summer ends, we're getting into fall officially next week, I believe, or coming up is the first day of fall. A lot of the busy seasons are kind of coming to an end. And so you have a lot of short-term rental owners that are coming up against their slow season and maybe the off season. And so, the question is, what are some of the things that owners can do now to start promoting, maybe some certain holidays or certain changes in the seasons and things like that?
Yeah. One of the biggest mistakes that people make is they have a listing, they put their photos up, and they feel like they're just going to keep that same exact listing up all year long. And many of our properties are in seasonal markets, right? And some of them have double seasons. Maybe you have a summertime season, maybe you have a winter season, then you've got these shoulder off seasons. And the big mistake that a lot of people make is I put this listing together, I put all my photos together, and I just set it and forget it. And I let them, like, if I've got a property that I'm rolling out of the summertime, and let's say I'm in a mountain area, I'll give you this as an example. I've got a mountain property. It's in the mountains, hiking, mountain biking, fishing, all those different things that you do in the mountains in the summertime.
Right.
My listing looks like that. But then let's say it's a ski market in the wintertime. And I've got to switch out my photos to show all the things that the ski hill has to offer, and the snow and the snow sports and everything else during the wintertime.
Right.
And if I don't do that, I'm going to lose out on business to people that do that, right? And so I always tell people, one of my favorite times to use my properties is during the shoulder seasons, during the off seasons.
Yeah.
And what I really try to do is when I'm about a month away from them. So a lot of people are rolling out of their peak summertime season and they're saying, man, my bookings are slowing down. Things are getting really slow. Yet they're still showing the beach and they're still showing the swimming and all the things that people do in the summertime during the peak season. What I like to do is say, hey, listen, what are the reasons I love to go to my area? I love less crowds. I love being able to get into the best restaurants without waiting. I love being able to get into the hot activities that people are just booked all summer long solid. And I go in the shoulder season, I can get in these properties. Yeah. So if that's the case, you need to articulate that in your listings. So you need to update your listings with the headlines and the photos particularly. And you need to be able to show guests how fun it is to go use those properties and be visiting those areas during the shoulder seasons and, you know, outside of the peak season. And if those of you that are rolling into a second peak season, like mountain areas, ski areas have 2 peak seasons. They have summertime and they have wintertime, right? That's a big flip flop on your listing is going to look totally different, right? You're not going to have the mountain biking and the hiking photos in your listing. You should have the ski hill photos and the snowmobile and the sledding and all those different things that you would do in the wintertime. A lot of these mountain communities have these really fun downtown, you know, Main Street areas that get decorated for Christmas, and they do sleigh rides and things like that. You should be articulating that in your listing. And I think a lot of people just get, you know, well, one, a lot of people don't articulate what to do in the area in their listing. And so if you're not doing that, you're missing the boat. A lot of people just have just their property photos on their listing, which is a big mistake. That's not good enough anymore. Hasn't been for a long time. If you're still doing that, then you're probably struggling. You probably haven't been listening to this podcast anyway. But those of you that do have area photos, make sure you're switching them out. Make sure you're switching out the things that are fun to do in your area, and make sure you articulate it. And you don't articulate it in the description. That's another thing. A lot of people are like, well, I wrote that in the description. People don't read the descriptions, period. They don't. They by the time somebody reads the description, they've already got hooked in by the photos. They're ready to go. They like your property. They're reading the description because they're basically ready to book, right? And so we've got to interest people on the front end, and the way to do that is to show them how fun these areas are in the off season and the shoulder seasons. And so if you've got a property that is seasonal, you should be doing that, and you should be thinking about that.
Well, and I think it's being consistent too, and it's a little bit of effort. And so,
for sure,
you know, people think, oh man, I got to take more photos and I got to do it. But if you want to maximize and take advantage of your property, you have to do that. I think there's nothing worse when you are going to a summer location and there's winter pictures. So you can't even feel what the summer is going to be like. The other thing that I think is super important is being consistent with the photos. If you have one photo that shows this amazing green grass in the summer, and it's awesome, and then the next photo shows the same, you know, picture, but it's like fall, and the grass is like dried up and you know, going into the dormant season, and you're like, this is so, like, have them consistent. And so if you're going to show the fall colors, show those. If you're going to show the summer, show the summer, and so forth. And
if you are in an area and it's your first year operating, you know, these are things you need to plan for. You need to plan to get photos, especially of the exterior of the home, right? And the area photos for every season, right? If this might be your very first year operating, and you just got through the summer season and you've got a fall foliage season and the leaves are all changing. You better be scheduling right now to get a photographer out there, because you got a short window to get really great photos that you can use for the rest of the time that you're going to be marketing it for years in the future.
Yeah, good. We got a couple other topics here, and really we appreciate our members and those out there who send in questions. So keep sending those questions in. They're awesome.
Tell them where they can send them. We're sure
you send them to support@vodacy.com, and we'll make sure that we get these on an upcoming episode. It's super important for us, and really, it's good for us because we want to answer the questions that you guys have out there. You know, obviously we think of a lot of things that are going on in the market and the industry and things like that, but it's great to be able to answer. And the other nice thing is I get responses saying, hey, thanks for answering that question. That was awesome. You got into detail. And so keep sending those to support@vodacy.com.
If you have a question, send it in. We'll get it answered, period. Even if it's not on a podcast, we will answer your question.
We'll respond. And if we feel like we have time and space and everything, we'll make sure you get an answer, but for sure we'll put it on an episode if we can. So this is a good one. One of our Vodacy members sent this in. I feel like we give an amazing 5-star experience for our guests, but we don't get a lot of reviews left from our guests. Do you have suggestions on how to increase these reviews?
Yeah. So we've got a really, really simple but really effective process to get reviews. And in fact, across the board in our Vodacy portfolio, over 1,500 homes. So a lot of homes, not 3 homes that we're testing this across. We're getting at 80% of our guests leave reviews. I mean, that's
super high.
It's ridiculously high. That industry average is about 10% of guests leave reviews. The difference is, and it really simply, everybody has an autoresponder. All your property managers, all of you who manage your own
Right.
properties, you've got your property management system. Somebody leaves, you say, "Hey, Dave, thanks for showing up, and you were a great guest. Would you please leave us a review?" Right? And you have 3 or 4 requests of a review. Well, guests and consumers are used to that, and they just ignore them, right? And so, what we do is we take a step and we say, "Hey, Dave, thanks so much for visiting our property. You were an amazing guest. I know how important reviews are for you as a guest. And so we've gone ahead and left you a 5-star review on your profile because other hosts would be thrilled to have you as a guest. And we want them to know that. And thanks for staying," right? So we do that. We send that text and we do give them a 5-star review. Now, people will say, "Well, we'll do that for everybody." Yeah, most of the time, because most people are 5-star guests,
Yes,
right?
right.
And so if they're a really bad guest, I don't do that because I don't want other hosts to be misled. But for the most part, if they're a good guest, we do that, right? And then about 10 minutes later, we send another text and say, "Hey, Dave," a lot of times they respond to those and say, "Hey, thank you." And if they do respond, then you just send the second text, say, "Hey, just, we hope you had a 5-star experience at our property. If you did, reviews are really important for us as well. If you've got 30 seconds, if you wouldn't mind leaving us a review, that would be really helpful for us." And because we sent them a review first, that law of reciprocity kicks in and they think, "Okay, I'm going to take the 30 seconds. I'm going to go leave a review for them." And it works, like I said, about 80% of the time. And so that's huge when you're building your online reputation with our listings and where, if I've got 10 guests coming in, I've got 8 reviews, and you're not doing that, and you've got 10 guests coming in, you're struggling to get 2 reviews.
Right.
That's a big deal as you start to grow. And so if your guests are having a good time and you're delivering a 5-star experience, don't lead with asking them to do something for you. Do something for them first. Give them a review. And then in return, they're going to, just naturally as human beings, we want to give back to somebody who gave to us. And so it works. It's super simple. It works amazingly well. I don't know why more people don't do it. We talked about it a lot. And so you should do it. If you're questioning, literally, you can just rewind this episode and put 2 text messages like that into your system. But if you're like, "Hey, I need a little bit more information on it," I posted this on Instagram about, I don't know, a month or so ago. And I put on there, and if you go to my Instagram, it's Vodacy Shawn Moore, and you find that post, I'll send you like the exact instructions on how to do this. And it shows you how to do it. You just have to comment, reply, or review, and I'll send you all of it.
Oh, that's awesome. So Vodacy Shawn Moore, go to the Instagram, find that post, just respond, "Hey, send me the notes or send me the text," and then you'll send it out to them exactly word for word what we do and
exactly
how we get
the instructions,
reviews.
Word for word, copy. All you literally will have to do is copy and paste what we send out.
Awesome. That's great. And we know how important reviews are.
They're huge.
Because if you're buying anything like on Amazon, you look to see what is it a 5-star, is it a 4-star?
Yeah.
But then you also look to see how many reviews were posted on there.
Right.
And that's, if you have 10 versus 4,000, a lot of people have reviewed
really
that.
like this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so that's the same with short-term rentals, and it's important to get those 5-star reviews.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. And there's no excuse not to do this.
Yeah.
There's no reason not to do this. Even if you have a property manager, I have property managers on every one of my properties, and we show them this. They can put it into their system really simply. It's no extra work for them, and it works beautifully well. And they love it because then they learn a new skill set that they can use across their portfolio and get way more reviews as well.
Yeah.
And so it works out awesome.
It's a little effort, but well worth it.
Yeah.
So good. All right, another question. Another member just posted this in our school community last week. No. Sorry, this one was emailed me directly and said, "Hey, a Whiskey Wednesday topic." So I'm like, "Sweet, this is great." So I'm going to read this because they posed it pretty good, and I want to make sure you have all the contents there. So we talk a lot about acquisition, and that's super helpful. But are there any best practices for selling short-term rentals? I would like to understand for a top-performing short-term rental, as well as a recently renovated short-term rental, has the potential but not proven performance over a long period of time. So to give you more context, we have recently renovated an underperforming short-term rental and determined that we would like to sell based on the lack of personal use and to get the cash out for our next lifestyle asset. It has been sitting on the market for 60 plus days with a ton of interest, one offer that fell through, and ultimately we haven't been able to sell because we think the lack of proven rental performance. We provided historical information, but that was prior to renovations and future bookings, but those are minimal based on the relaunch in May and then blocked calendar to accommodate showings and open houses. The market is definitely strong, and our property, the same market, is performing well. We're considering pulling it off the market and accelerating bookings through all of the normal tactics so we can try again in the spring, but your input is helpful.
Okay, awesome. So one, the only thing I don't know from that email is what kind of a premium are they asking for the property, right? Because I'm assuming, let's say the property is worth after renovations, just property values, right? You have to understand we're selling single family homes. For the most part, that is how people are valuing them. They're not valuing them as a premium because they've got performance or lack of performance, right? Most of the time you're paying for the real estate itself. That's how it's going to get appraised. That's how most people are valuing it. And so if you are trying to sell a short-term rental that you took a lot of time, you renovated it, you got it furnished, it's ready and set up, you know that potential because you're in the game, right? But a lot of people don't understand even how to underwrite revenue potential, right? And so if you're trying to sell on potential, that's really difficult, right? And that is what you're trying to do right now in this instance. So if you're trying to sell a short-term rental at a premium because of its performance, you better have performance, right? And so when you're saying, should we pull it off? Should we perform? Should we make sure that that's there? Yeah. If you're asking for a premium, you really need to.
You need to show that. You need to prove
you
that
have
this
to have
has the track record.
Exactly. Right. It's like, hey, this property is performing. Here's the clip it's performing at. Here's what we're going to ask for a premium because of that, because you're going to get, all of this, all of the assets that it takes to perform at that level, because otherwise people are just going to value it based on the real estate value.
Right.
And so when you're selling something, you have to really think about, okay, what am I selling? And you have to realize that the majority of the consumers have no clue on revenue potential. They have no clue. I mean, even people who are wanting to get into the short-term rental game have no clue. I mean, how many people do we talk to on this stuff? I mean, they don't understand that. So if you're trying to sell on potential and they don't understand potential, they don't see the potential, they're just going to say, all right, Dave, I'm going to give you X for this property, and that's what it's worth, is price per square foot. I'll give you on the high side because it's really fixed up nice, renovated. But you got two values you got to understand, is saying, okay, what is the actual value of the real estate? And that's going to be pretty close to your sell price most of the time. If you're asking for a premium based on revenue and because it's a performing asset, it needs to be performing. Yeah. And so, you probably have to have at least a year track record for any buyer to really put any weight behind that, right? What if you have 3 months of the peak season? Buyers are hopefully smart enough not to realize that that's going to extend. Too. You're going to need to show the actual performance to get the premium you're asking if you are asking for a premium there. Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and a lot of times too, you as the owner has the emotional tie to your property, so you always believe that it's worth more potentially maybe than it is, especially as a short-term rental, because that the potential to rent it and to, all the memories and things that you had. But you made a good point, is most of the time it's appraised at just a regular real estate property and not necessarily a short-term rental. So you have to understand that going in.
Yeah. You're not going to get an appraiser to value these. We have yet to see it. I mean, maybe it's coming in the future where they're looked at more as commercial properties, but right now they're not. You're going to get a residential appraisal that's going to appraise the value of the property, possibly, obviously, that has to do with condition, location, proximity, all that stuff that can add to our earning potential with the property, but they're not going to give you any premium for the performance. But think about it, when you're trying to sell a property, think about put yourself in the buyer's shoes. And so, okay, would I pay extra for this, and why? And if the answer is because I can see the potential here, that's not something what people don't pay for potential unless you're really savvy. I pay for potential all the time, but usually I'll buy underperforming properties and maybe pay a little bit more because I see the potential in them. You should use that to your advantage, but the average consumer is not going to pay for potential. They don't even know it. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. All right, buddy. Well, that's it. I think
we rolled through those.
We need to get back to you doing some bicep curls. You know what I mean?
Dude, you're an idiot. I'm going to stop wearing t-shirts. I just buy 2 small t-shirts.
Seriously,
They're really not. My
dude,
biceps aren't big.
if large fits, buy medium. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's what an old boss of mine told me, So I'm like, maybe I should use that.
Interesting. Yeah, we'll try to do that.
Anyways, good episode today, buddy. It's good to be back in the office.
Back
good
in
to be
action, back
in.
behind the mics. And you guys keep those questions coming in. We love answering them for you. And again, if no matter what, you'll get an answer. So make sure you send them in to support@vodacy.com. We'll get you an answer. And a lot of them we're going to put on these episodes so that we can chat about it. Other people can hear them. And our goal is for you guys to walk into this game with your eyes wide open. So if you know somebody else that would like these episodes and like to be a part of these conversations, share the show. Those things help us grow. If you got more than 30 seconds, like it, review it. Those things do help us as well, and we very, very, very much appreciate it. And the final, most important thing that we always ask you at the end of every episode is pick that one thing you can do today to start building that life you don't want to take a vacation from. Cheers, my friends. Cheers, brother.
Cheers, buddy.